The Labour Party has just won an impressive victory in 2024 general election. With a dominant result, the new government will likely to push through the legislation fairly easily, meaning that any policies that Labour announced during the general election will likely to be brought into the law. So in today's video, we'll discuss what we can expect from the new government's immigration policies based on what the Labour Party stated in their campaign and in their manifesto. We'll only be examining changes to legal migration routes rather than any proposed changes to tackle illegal immigration. Before we dwell into today's topic, a quick intro. I am Yash Dubal, Managing Director at EY Solicitors. We are an SRA regulated legal 500 firm with over a decade in UK immigration, winning multiple awards, serving 4,000 plus clients and having 1,200 positive reviews. We are here to help you. So agenda 1 is to go through the background of UK immigration. So immigration has become something of a political football under the last 14 years of the Conservative rule. Despite the Conservative government's promise for tighter immigration, post-Brexit net immigration migration reached highest level ever in 2023 at 685,000. One of the Conservatives' last meaningful policy decision was to make several changes to immigration policy in order to reduce this figure. Of course, it's noteworthy that they raised the general minimum salary threshold for skilled workers from 26,200 to 38,700 and prevented care workers' dependents from making application. We have already seen a drop in the number of visa applications following these changes. It is likely that the Labour will continue the previous government's work to cut the net migration figure, as the vote for the hard right party reform shows the large proportion of the British population wishes for the lower immigration numbers. Despite being a party from the left with a large progressive element, Labour won a large majority but had a low vote share and will be conscious of losing votes to the Conservative or Reform, and so it will likely that they will keep up the pressure on the net migration moving forward. However, promisingly, Labour has announced that it wishes for the joint up thinking across all areas of government, meaning that immigration policy will be tied to economic and social policies. Really great. This means that even if Labour do want to cut down net migration, they will do it fair and justifiable manner, looking at the needs of specific sectors rather than introducing top-down targets. Agenda 2 is the work routes. Let's look into that. We will firstly examine what plans Labour has for making changes to work routes such as the skilled worker visa. Importantly, Labour has stated that they do not want to bring up any hard cap on any immigration route, but they have said there will be appropriate restriction on visas. Now, Labour have stated that they will reduce the need for the migration by reforming the apprenticeships levy to upskill resident workers here. Essentially, they aim to train British workers for roles where the nation has shortage so that companies do not have to look abroad. These areas include construction, IT, engineering, all key sectors to the UK economy which currently employ a lot of migrant workers. They will also require sponsors in this area to follow a workforce plan and fair pay agreement which they will set out, potentially making it more expensive for sponsors to employ migrant workers. The government also intends to downgrade individual company sponsor license if they are found to not training their workforce enough. Additionally, they will increase the eligibility period for obtaining a sponsor license and add more visa penalties for rogue employers who break the UK employment law. Now, this could have significant impact for companies with sponsor licenses, as revoking a license could have a disastrous result for a business. Furthermore, the government will seek to strengthen the Migration Advisory Committee by linking it to other departments and asking it to review the effects of the Conservatives' recent changes to the immigration law, including the increase to the general minimum salary threshold. Now, the Migration Advisory Committee is an independent body made up of immigration experts and has produced balanced work so far. A recent review of the graduate route by them argued in its favor. So, it increased the importance in a Labour government is a positive development for those who want a fair immigration system that works for everyone. Now, Labour has followed the committee's advice to examine the immigration salary list, which allows companies to sponsor employee in certain occupation as a lower than the going rate. They have stated that they will remove the occupations from the ISL where the sector is not committing enough to upskilling that workforce, potentially making it more expensive to employ migrant workers. Labour has also announced their intention to review the health and care worker, particularly looking at enforcing employment rights for those in the social care sector, and there have been reports of exploitation by care employers. Unfortunately, they have also committed to keeping the Conservatives' policy on banning care workers' dependents. This is not a surprise, as the impact from this policy can already be seen with a drop in visa applications. Labour will be happy to keep the previous government's policy if they are working to bring down the migration. For creative workers, a visa for those who work in creative industries, Labour has announced that they will negotiate new arrangements with the EU to make it easier for artists to come to the UK for shows, something that the industry has been pushing for a while now. Labour has stated that they don't want to create a broad youth mobility scheme within the EU like other schemes than the UK has with certain countries. However, a more limited version may be introduced, although this is not confirmed. In addition to preventing exploitation in the care industry, Labour will also target those being treated unfairly in the seasonal worker route, as there is a need to safeguard the welfare of migrant workers who come to work in the UK's agricultural sector. Now let's talk about the students and graduates. The new government has not made any specific policy announcement on the students or graduate route, but have stated that they recognize the major contribution made by the international students. As we mentioned earlier, the Migration Advisory Committee, which Labour is seeking to encourage, has recommended that the graduate visa route should stay, and so it's likely that Labour will not remove it, something that was threatened by the Conservatives. Labour will know that many universities rely on international students to stay afloat thanks to their higher tuition fees, and so it's likely that they will seek to reduce their numbers too heavily. The fourth one is family route. Like with work routes, Labour has committed to not installing a hard cap on the numbers of applicants on the family route. However, disappointingly, they have stated their support for the minimum income requirement increase. The Conservative raised the minimum income requirement for those who wish to bring their partner to the UK from 18,600 per year to 29,000, with plans to increase to 38,700. We don't know if Labour will continue with the planned increase, but it's unfortunate that they have kept the increase to the minimum income requirement, as this makes it much tougher for many migrants to reunite with their loved ones in the UK. The fifth one is the EU settlement scheme. Labour has not announced anything specifically with regards to changes to the EU settlement scheme. There have been calls from some for amendments to made, particularly with the digital immigration status that EU settlement schemes participants have received. They were the first in the country to be moved to the e-visa system, replacing the physical documents. They have faced several issues with proving their immigration status online, including being able to prove the right to work or right to stay in the UK when traveling. So the new visa changes, which is the e-visa system for EU SS participants, particularly it's being rolled out to all visa holders by end of 2024. The sixth one is work for asylum seekers. So what is happening there? The new government has not made any statements on liberalizing how much work asylum seekers can do whilst they wait for a decision in the UK. Currently, asylum seekers can request the right to work if asylum application has been pending for at least 12 months. They can only work in occupation on the limited immigration salary list, and due to the lengthy delays in asylum processing times, housing asylum seekers cost the UK hundreds of millions of pounds every year. This is why Migration Advisory Committee recommended the previous government to allow asylum seekers to work in any job that is eligible for sponsorship under the skilled worker route. If Labour are committing to listening to the strengthened committee, asylum seekers may be permitted to work in a broader range of occupation than before. The seventh agenda is the immigration fees. There have been large increase to visa fees since October 2023, as well as to the immigration health surcharge in February 2024, which jumped from £634 per year to £1,035 per year. This is likely part of the previous government's plan to slash net migration figures as well as raise much needed revenue. Labour has not announced any changes to the fees or immigration health surcharge, but we would hope that there will be no further increases. It's likely that they will not lower any fees due to their desire to lower net migration figures. So in today's video, we have discussed what Labour government means for legal immigration. It's likely that Labour will seek to reduce the barriers to immigration. However, from what they have announced, it appears they will look to implement their proposed changes in a fair manner, looking at the impact to the wider economy. They place a strong emphasis on developing the domestic workforce to replace migrants, which at least provides an alternative to employers who who need workers. Labour have been moving very quickly to implement their new policies, so make sure you check back with our channel for the latest updates. Do you need help? If yes, contact us on this number which is on your screen, or fill a short inquiry form which is in the description section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell button for more content on life in the UK test.